Cam Rogers with you, Harris Rubenstein alongside.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to get through Harris's final NBA mock draft.
The last one.
We start things off with
4.0.
those Phoenix Suns. Let's get
do
to
it.
them here. Number 1 overall. Harris, first of all, any chance they trade out of that spot?
No, they're not trading out of that spot. The Suns are going to pick at number 1 overall. Ryan McDonough, their GM, has all but confirmed it. They are taking someone at number 1 overall. But if you're asking me, Cam, I think that there's there's 3 options at number 1 overall. There's Deandre Ayton, Luka Doncic, and also Jaren Jackson Jr. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a much higher chance of being the number 1 overall pick than people actually think. I don't actually end up wondering about Marvin Bagley. I don't think he'll end up being one of the first picks in the draft. I think he'll go 3 or 4. But I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a likely number 1 overall pick if they don't go Ayton.
All right, well, let's go to your selection here at number 1 overall. You are going chalk, just like me. Deandre Ayton out of Arizona. He'll stay in the state.
Now, don't worry, my fans out there. I am not just, taking the easy way out and taking the player that everyone else says and getting off my Luka Doncic boat. The reason I'm taking Ayton number 1 overall is because that's what I know is going to happen. The Suns are going to take Ayton number 1 overall. They're going to take the safe big man, and they're going to go home happy. And look, they're getting a great player in Deandre Ayton. The dude is built like a gladiator. He is massive. He looks like Dwight Howard. He's just a mammoth of a man at his age of 20 years old. He's an amazing finisher around the rim. He can finish with both hands. Good fundamentals in the post. Great footwork as well. He's a better shooter than I think he gets credit for. His biggest issue is effort and defense, which when you're talking about big men in the draft, effort and defense is kind of really important. And do you know what, Cam? Before we move on to our second pick, I put together a little graphic because people are always yelling at me about me not wanting to take big men at number 1 overall. Here are the last 10 big men who have been drafted number 1 overall, because I think people need to see why I'm so anti-big men number 1 overall. Here's the list. Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, Greg Oden, Andrea Bargnani, good players, Andrew Bogut, Dwight Howard, Yao Ming, Kwame Brown, and then, of course, Mikal Olowokandi, excuse me. Do you know what I don't see on that list? Anyone who has ever won a title. No title has been won by a team that has drafted a big man first overall since the Spurs in 1997 with Tim Duncan. Hasn't happened.
I will counter.
Please.
I think the Pelicans or the Timberwolves will buck that trend.
Yes,
at some point.
Buck the trend. Now, there's always the time where you have to take the big men number 1 overall. Whether, Yao Ming, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, Karl-Anthony Towns, those were years that you had to take it. Suns this year, I don't think they have to take the big men number 1 overall.
All right, let's go to team number 2, and we've got the Sacramento Kings.
This is really easy. Take the best player in the draft. You are not in a position, if you're the Kings, to say, oh, this guy doesn't fit with our team. We need to worry about fit. Take the best player
available.
Talent, 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 talent. Take the best player in the draft. And I think with Ayton off the board at number 1, it's pretty clear he should go number 2.
All right, well, let's go to that selection for you, Harris, and you've got Luka Doncic going to the Sacramento Kings.
It pisses me off because Doncic is actually a perfect fit with the Suns in terms of what they need on their team. And he's actually kind of a weird opposite fit with what the Kings, because they already have a primary ball handler in De'Aaron Fox. But I think that we can see them work in a very similar way that Chris Paul and James Harden can work with the Rockets. Now, that does include De'Aaron Fox's jumper improving, but Luka Doncic, in sports in general, when it comes to the draft, we overanalyze prospects a lot. We nitpick and we overthink certain players and kind of come up with opinions that end up just kind of being silly. I mean, we did in the NFL with Deshaun Watson, talking about, miles per hour on thrown balls and all this stuff, but the stats are there, the performance is there, and we see that he knows how to play the quarterback position. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell last year. Oh, blah, 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 this and this. He might not be, a lot of effort there, and he ends up being maybe the best rookie in the NBA last year. That's Luka Doncic. Stop nitpicking. Get over yourselves. This is the best international prospect that we've had come out into the draft maybe since Dirk. He's doing things at 19 years old that we've never seen another international prospect ever do. He has shades of James Harden in his game. He has an unbelievable ability to pass. Worst things worst, you've drafted Ricky Rubio number 2 overall, which for the Kings is as good of a draft pick as they've had in a decade. They don't draft well. Take the easy pick.
All right, so he's off the board. Let's go to the Atlanta Hawks. Big opportunity for them. They've got a lot of draft capital here.
They do have a lot of draft capital. 3 picks in the first round this year and a lot of holes to fill. I like what they've done with John Collins. I think he's a really good player at the 4. Look, they took the guy from the Warriors who found Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and turned them into the super team that they are. They brought in a new defensive coach as well. I think John Collins is a great power forward for the modern-day NBA. The only question is, who do they match him up with down low?
All right, well, let's get to that selection here for the Atlanta Hawks. At number 3, it's Jaren Jackson Jr. out of Michigan State.
I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a fantastic player. I think that what he's going to be able to do in the NBA is very rare. There are not a lot of 3-and-D big men in the NBA. And those who are the actual 3-and-D big men, they're fantastic players. Al Horford, Joel Embiid, just to name a couple. Anthony Davis can shoot from distance. So you don't find these guys a lot. And I think that for the modern-day NBA, they are absolutely vital. Jaren Jackson, in my opinion, is the most modern-day big man that we have in this year's draft. I think that his potential is through the roof. He has a long way to go. I mean, the dude is 18 years old. Mm-hmm. He's the youngest player that you're going to find.
Maturity is always in question about that.
But he's the youngest player in this year's lottery that's going to go, and he might actually be better than Deandre Ayton. I think at day 1, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best rim protector in this draft. He's a great defensive player, and he can shoot threes at 18 years old. At 7 foot. You take that guy. I also think there's an argument that he's a better overall player than Deandre Ayton. But I'm not going to make that argument, though the argument is there.
All right, well, there you go. Jaren Jackson going to the Hawks. Let's go to number 4. We've got the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not in full tank mode as long as Conley and Gasol are still playing solidly, Harris. So where do they go here?
We don't do trades in these mock drafts. I'm not going to do trades, but I will say this. Do not be surprised if the Grizzlies trade away this pick. In fact, I'd say it's actually likely that they trade this pick if Jackson, Ayton, and Doncic are all off the board.
So you're saying if Bagley is there, you don't jump and get him?
Watch out for the Los Angeles Clippers with their 2 lottery picks trading up for Marvin Bagley. If you're the Grizzlies, you can acquire 2 young players still in the lottery, maybe get another player along with it to match up with Conley and Gasol. I think that is a very appetizing prospect. But no trades in this mock draft.
No trades at all. So with that, at number 4, you've got Bagley going to the Grizzlies. Yep. Harris, you and I kind of disagree, which is always fine. I think Bagley could go number 1 overall.
I think he could go number 1 overall. There's a lot of things that I'm worried about with Bagley. But let's start with the positives on him. Outstanding lateral quickness. Easily his best trait. It helps him on both ends of the court. He's an incredible finisher. The dude just knows how to put the ball in the hoop around the rim. Great ball handling for a guy his size. You should see this dude on coast-to-coast and in transition basketball. He is fantastic. I think that's his best offensive ability is what he's able to do as a big man in transition. He's a great athlete, good first step on offense, a fantastic rebounder, and there aren't a lot of players that will play as hard as him night in and night out. I love big men who show effort, and Marvin Bagley, he may not end up being the player that we all think he's going to, but the effort will always be there, and that's going to be a big part of it. But in terms of his weaknesses, you have to have a defensive-minded big on the court at the same time as him, almost at all times. Because think about it this way. Let's say he is your primary starting center. You're the Grizzlies. What happens when you have to go up against Joel Embiid and the Sixers? The answer is he is going to eat Marvin Bagley alive. He is not a good enough defender right now to guard the elite centers that are growing in the NBA right now, and that is my biggest concern. Perfect fit with the Grizzlies. He can sit next to Marc Gasol, but he's going to need a primary defensive big on the court with him at all times in the NBA.
All right, so Bagley going number 4 to the Grizzlies. At number 5, the Dallas Mavericks. It screams Mo Bamba territory here.
It does, and I don't think that should be to anyone's surprise, because I think he'd also be the perfect fit with Rick Carlisle, but I'm not going to spoil my pick.
Well, let's do that then. Let's just go to it. At number 5 for the Dallas Mavericks, we've got Mo Bamba, the center out of Texas.
I have watched so much more Mo Bamba tape over the past weekend than I have watched almost any single player. I am completely convinced that Mo Bamba is going to be a good NBA player. Completely convinced. 8-foot wingspan. His wingspan is 8 feet.
He's quite big.
That is ridiculous. Yes. This dude is going to be one of the best shot blockers in basketball. He's a better finisher than I actually realized. He can do it with both hands, which is quite special. He's a better than advertised jump shot. I think by year 3 or 4 in the NBA, he's going to be shooting threes consistently. With his length and also his on-court speed, the dude can defend multiple positions. I'm not worried about him going up against guards on some splits or on some screens as well. But in terms of weaknesses, I mean, the dude gets pushed around a lot. He's terrible in the pick and roll on offense, which needs to improve. Pick and roll offense is run, everything for big men in the modern day NBA. His post-up needs a little work, and his jump shot is still a work in progress. But my best case scenario for Mo Bamba, I can't believe I'm about to say this, best case scenario, he ends up being Hakeem Olajuwon with a jump shot. Like, that's a legitimate option. He's going to be as good of a shot blocker in the NBA. And the real question is, how can he shoot the ball as he progresses throughout his NBA career? Because a dude with his wingspan and his defense abilities, this dude could be a really, really special player. I
just threw in the comments section who wants shout-outs on air. We got you guys covered. J.A. as well as Austin. Thank you guys for watching. Hit us up in comments if you want a shout-out too. All right, so you got Mo Bamba going to the Mavs. Here's the Magic at 6, and Harris, they need scoring now.
They do need scoring. They need scoring. They need excitement. They need a franchise face. They need someone that when people turn on their television, they go, hey, I know that guy. That guy looks familiar. And lucky for them, there are actually multiple players that I think could get this done. But with where their team needs line up and who's left on the board, I just couldn't let this guy slide any follow.
All right, so at number 6, survey says Trae Young, the Oklahoma Sooner himself.
Now, I would love Trae Young in the New York Knicks. I had him in my last mock going number 9 to the Knicks. I just cannot see the Magic looking at a guy like Trae Young with his three-point shooting ability, his electricity, the excitement that comes with Trae Young, and just looking at him and going, meh, I'm going to take a forward. Like, I can't see them doing that. They need someone who can score the dang basketball. Who cares about Trae Young's defense at this point? He is the best shooter in this class. And if you can get that guy at number 6 overall and you're the Orlando Magic, you do that. In a second, you run up to the podium and you say Trae Young and run away as if you just got the greatest steal in NBA draft history. I personally don't think that Trae Young is going to end up being as good as he's kind of, as other people says he is. I think he's wildly inconsistent. The dude can go from hot to cold in J.R. Smith style speed. But if you're the Magic, you have to take it. You need scoring, you need someone at the guard position, and you need a leader. He can do all of those things.
I got probably one of my favorite weigh-ins I've ever crafted here. Not to pat myself on the back or anything.
I'll do it for
but
you. I'll do it.
What's more likely, Trae Young busts or becomes the next Steph Curry?
Trae Young busts. I'll say for you,
that's fair.
It is more likely that Trae Young busts. I know that when he was going through his whole college renegade, honestly, I don't really know how else to explain it, but when he was going through his rampage, he looked like Steph Curry in an Oklahoma uniform. But the problem is that the second half of the season, he did not. In fact, the second half of the season, he kind of looked like Jordan Clarkson. So we don't really know who the real Trae Young is yet going into the NBA draft. We're going to learn really quickly who the real Trae Young is. He is going to be a boomer bust guy in his rookie season and will be for his entire NBA career.
Well, Austin is saying that as long as Trae doesn't go to the Cavs.
Lol, hashtag bust.
There
well,
you go.
we'll see what happens. I don't think that he's actually going to fall. I don't think he's going to last until the Cavs. I think he goes top 7 at least. I think someone's going to trade up for him if not.
All right, well, let's go to number 7 here, the Chicago Bulls. All eyes are on them because I think they can have a really interesting draft. And guess who's on the board? Mr. Mikal Porter Jr.
Mikal Porter Jr. is on the board. And I want to make one note about Mikal Porter Jr. before we get to my number 7 overall pick. If you're his agent, you are playing this beautifully. You have successfully gotten Mikal Porter Jr. as a confirmed top 10 pick, and now you're kind of playing the, I'm still a little injured card, which means that we don't want him to go top 5. We want him to drift a little bit farther.
All right, well, let's get to that selection here, Harris. And at number 7 for the Chicago Bulls, Mikal Porter Jr. off the board. I don't think he falls past 7.
I don't either. If he's on the board at 7, he's going to go to the Chicago Bulls. And I think that his upside, his upside is so fantastic that if you're the Bulls and you have such a need there at the small forward position, you have to take him. He's my #1 small forward. He's my #6 overall player in this year's class. The dude has a beautiful jump shot. He can shoot off the dribble and off the catch and shoot. He has tons of confidence. This kid, I don't know if you've heard it, but he went on the, I believe it was the Jim Rome show, and was kind of just talking about how, he's going to progress in the NBA. He thinks he's going to be the next LeBron James. Now, he's not going to be the next LeBron James, but I love that kind of confidence, especially from a shooter. Shooters need confidence. That's what makes Steph Curry so good. He doesn't stop shooting because he always has confidence in himself. He's a better finisher around the rim than I think he gets credit for. But Cam, I've said it once, I will say it 1,000 times. Back injuries plus sports equals bad news.
Not good.
All the time, every single time. Destroyed Tiger Woods' career. Going to destroy Clayton Kershaw's career. It's going to take 3 years off of Rob Gronkowski's career, and I think Michael Porter Jr.'s entire athletic career is going to be inhibited by it.
All right, we'll get to PGA Tour Weekly. We can talk about Tiger Woods next time. Hey, by the way, a couple YouTube shout-outs to Adam and C. Jizzle. Thanks for watching the show. That's a great name.
Jizzle BMG.
Jizzle. That's a fantastic nickname. Keep hitting us up in comments. We'll give you guys shout-outs. All right, let's go to the next team on the list. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's all about LeBron.
It is all about LeBron. And my team needs LeBron and a point guard. And it just, I cannot believe that LeBron is putting them in this situation. Because we know that LeBron loves the Cavs. That means so much to him. But he's going to draft them with them not knowing about it. I think it's ridiculous. So I gave him a replacement.
All right, well, let's get to that selection here. And at number 8, Mikal Bridges.
I was so stupid close to giving them Collin Sexton because they have been all over him throughout the entire draft process. So I think they do end up going small forward, though. I think they want to go with the safe pick, someone who they know is going to help them win next year, and that's Mikal Bridges. He's the most NBA-ready player in this year's class. He will come in and instantly be a great guy in rotation or start instantly at the small forward spot. He's a good, safe, overall player. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're not trying to ruffle any feathers. You're trying to make a smart, responsible draft pick. Take Mikal Bridges. 3 and D. Not going to find a lot of those guys throughout the NBA who are as young and as polished as Mikal Bridges is.
All right, so he's going at number 8 to the Cavs. Let's check in with team number 9, the New York Knicks. And they can go many different directions in this draft. Where do you think they're going here?
I think that the New York Knicks need someone to match up next to Kristaps Porzingis, and they need someone who can also fill in for Kristaps next season while he's injured.
All right, so at number 9 for the Knicks, we've got Wendell Carter Jr., the other Duke guy.
Yes, the other Duke guy. And look, say what you want about Marvin Bagley III and his offensive prowess. Wendell Carter Jr. won ACC Rookie of the Year. What does that tell you? I mean, I think with Wendell Carter Jr., my player comp for him is Al Horford. He is coming in as such a safe overall prospect. Not as safe as Mikal Bridges, who I just talked about. I hold on to the fact that Mikal Bridges is the safest player in this year's draft. But Wendell Carter Jr. has so few weaknesses. He's a good all-around player on both ends of the court. He's a great passer, smart player, high basketball IQ. He's a decent shooter for his size. He can split the floor. He's a very good rebounder. His numbers were down because of Bagley, but he's a better rebounder than I think his numbers at Duke really let on. But his defense is outrageous. He can guard almost any single player on the court. He can switch on to guards and do just fine. I really do think he's going to end up being Al Horford. His three-ball needs a little bit of work, and he can't really jump that high, but neither can Al Horford. You ever seen Al Horford try to jump?
A few times.
Doesn't really work out that well. The dude basically takes a plant shot from 3, so I think Wendell Carter Jr. is a very similar player to that.
All right, so he's going to the Knicks at number 9. Let's take a look at the 76ers here at number 10.
I think with the 76ers, wings. Wings. The reason that they lost to the Celtics in the playoffs was because they simply could not keep up with the amount of wings that the Celtics kept throwing at them. And they also need someone who can take a little pressure size-wise off of Ben Simmons. Simmons is the only guy on that team besides Embiid who has legitimate size. And don't get me started on Dario Saric. So I think the 76ers need someone with size on the wing.
And at number 10, Harris, you have the 76ers selecting Miles Bridges.
I have been on the Miles Bridges train for such a long time now. I think he's going to end up being one of the most fun players in this year's class. Again, great finisher, can finish with both hands, likes going through defenders instead of trying to go around them. He's a decent spot-up shooter. He doesn't have great range, very high basketball IQ, extremely coachable. Brett Brown is going to fall in love with this guy. Tom Izzo spoke the world of Miles Bridges while he was there. Fantastic leader, high-motor player, great kid too. I think Miles Bridges is just a really, really fun basketball player to watch. And for who's the better Bridges, I think Mikal Bridges is the better overall player because I think he has a more defined role as to what he's going to be in the NBA. But please, 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 someone teach Miles Bridges how to dribble the basketball. Because as of right now, his biggest issue as an NBA player, he can't dribble. He has no concept of ball handling. So if that doesn't improve, it's going to hinder his overall growth as an NBA player. But someone teaches him how to dribble, he'll be a really, really good player.
All right, who's the better Bridges, Mikal or Miles? Be sure to hit us up in this reaction poll here.
Yeah, and I will say this. Miles Bridges, my best case scenario for him is Vince Carter. Maybe not with the dunking, but in terms of an actual NBA player, very similar player.
All right, Harris, let's summarize your mock draft quickly here. So far, Deandre Ayton, Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson. There's Bagley and Mo Bamba, 1 through 5. 6 through 10, there's Trae, Michael Porter Jr., Mikal Bridges, Wendell Carter, and Miles Bridges at number 10. Let's go to number 11 here on the list. We've got the Charlotte Hornets.
I think Kemba Walker gets traded on Thursday. I will say that straight up. I believe Kemba Walker is going to get traded on draft night on Thursday. I think he's going to go to either the Cavs, maybe the Knicks. He's going to go to one of the very few teams in the NBA who need a point guard, and that would leave the Charlotte Hornets desperately needing a point guard. So, a lot of ones on the board.
Here we go. At number 11, you have Collin Sexton out of Alabama.
I originally had them taking Lonnie Walker. I've also meddled with the idea of them taking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But I landed on Collin Sexton because I think that he's a player that Michael Jordan is going to absolutely love. I think when you look at what Michael Jordan likes out of college players, he likes effort, he likes consistency, and he likes passion for the game. No one loves basketball more than Collin Sexton. If this dude's head could be a basketball, he would make it that it would be a basketball. Collin Sexton is the most passionate college player I have ever seen. He will rip your head off if given the chance. I remember one of my favorite individual points about any player that we have. Collin Sexton at one point this year when he played for Alabama was faced with a 3-on-5 situation for the entire game. I told it just everyone was getting suspended and ejected all over the place. He dropped 40 points and they won. 3-on-5. I love it. Collin Sexton, a fantastic player. He's going to be an electrifying NBA point guard.
There's Sexton at 11. Let's take a look at the Clippers at number 12 here, Harris. Also have selection number 13 as well. What do you think?
With the Clippers, it comes down to a lot of things in terms of what happens with DeAndre Jordan. Are they going to try to shed some money to get a new free agent? And they, as a whole, they don't really have a lot of needs as a team. I think backup point guard's an important one. Maybe someone on the wing to spell Tobias Harris. Maybe someone at the 4 as well. I think they should go guard. But yeah, back-to-back picks here. But again, I still think the Clippers are going to trade up.
All right, at number 12, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to the Clippers, Harris.
I think with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, there's a very high bust potential with him. And I think that that's going to give a lot of teams pause in terms of drafting him just because he doesn't really have one skill that you can point to and be like, oh, wow, that's what he does. But overall with SGA, he's a great ball handler, a great finisher, an outstanding defender for a guy of his age. He's long, he's fast, he's just a lot of fun overall. And I think if he really develops his jump shot, especially in the mid-range, my player comp for him is Sean Livingston. Good defender, good point guard, good passer, smart player, not the best athlete in the world, but still good. But his pull-up jumper needs to be better. It's bad, like really, really bad.
All right, like I mentioned, at number 13, the Clippers select again. By the way, do you think they package those two picks and move up?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. They have to. They have to. They need to get another face of this franchise. By the way, just correcting myself from earlier, Alabama did not win that game. They almost did. They were down 11 points with 10 minutes to go, and they nearly came back in that game. It was a crazy game. Collin Sexton was crazy, and the Clippers are going to be really upset that they don't end up with Collin Sexton. But at number 13, the Clippers are going to trade these picks to move up in the draft. I really, really think that's going to happen. But if they don't, they're going to take DeAndre Jordan's replacement in Robert Williams, who, ironically, went to Texas A&M and does the exact same thing that DeAndre Jordan does. Does a little bit shorter than DeAndre Jordan. Robert Williams is measured out to be about 6'10". He played the wrong position at Texas A&M. They played him as a power forward, which was really weird because he should be a rim-running center. The dude can dunk with the best of them. He can move on the court. There are very few big men who can move with the speed and agility that this guy can. He's an outstanding athlete. Jumping, shot blocking, defending. He makes everything look easy. He's a great rebounder, and stay out of his way if you dunk. Like if this dude's coming down the lane to dunk on you, get out of his way, or it's like Thanos snapping his fingers. You're just going to burst into dust. You're out of here. Robert Williams is a fun player. Lobs all over the place. He just can't shoot at all. Not at all. No shooting with Robert Williams. Just like DeAndre Jordan.
All right, let's get to number 14. We've got the Denver Nuggets here, Harris. Where do you think they go?
They need scoring off the bench. They need size, and will we finally see them draft someone to replace Wilson Chandler? Please do it.
All right, at number 14, you've got Kevin Knox going to Denver.
The entire draft community is split on Kevin Knox. Some people think that he's going to be just the best player in this class and end up being an elite offensive player. Some of us also think that he's going to be terrible and just doesn't really have a game to speak of that translates to the NBA. Me personally, I kind of take the cop out and find somewhere in the middle. Best case scenario, he ends up being a taller version of Paul Pierce. Worst case scenario, he ends up being Jeff Green and is just a decent NBA defender with length, can score a little bit off the bench. But if Kevin Knox reaches his potential and his jumper ends up being really consistent, he's going to be a really, really good player.
All right, so he's there at number 14, going to the Denver Nuggets. All right. That's the end of the lottery now.
Now we
get into the rest of the
picks.
picks.
Roll through a little faster here now. Let's do it.
Let's go to the Wizards at number 15. Your selection, Harris, Lonnie Walker.
Yes, Lonnie Walker, because for the entire time that the Washington Wizards have had John Wall, they have never had an answer at backup point guard. And I also think that this finally gives them the option to trade John Wall, because as much as I do love John Wall, I think it has been unfortunately proven that you cannot win a title with John Wall as your starting point guard. You just can't do it. I don't think there's a team out there that you can build to get you a title with John Wall in the modern day NBA. Lonnie Walker, maybe you can build something in the future over the next couple of years.
Alrighty, let's summarize Harris's mock draft so far. It's Ayton, Doncic, Jaren Jackson Jr., Bagley, and Bamba 1 through 5, Trae Young, MPJ, Mikal Bridges, Wendell Carter, Miles Bridges 6 through 10. Then 11 through 15 here. We've got Sexton, Gilgeous-Alexander, Robert Williams, Kevin Knox, and Lonnie Walker there. Harris, of course. We encourage all of you guys to subscribe to our new NBA YouTube channel.
Do it. Like Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Like everything that you'll ever need in terms of NBA offseason content, we will have. And of course, everything you need to know about LeBron James.
Did you say Shia LaBeouf?
What? Yeah, you never seen that video of him just like screaming in front of green screen going, do it. Just do it.
When I hear Shia LaBeouf, I think of Even Steven. Does anybody remember Even Steven?
Dude, get out of the 90s.
Let's go to number 16 here on the list. Harris, you got the Phoenix Suns getting Zaire Smith.
I do, and I think that I might get yelled at by Suns fans for not giving them a guard here, but the amount of explosiveness that Zaire Smith brings to the table is outrageous. I think it also gives them the option to trade TJ Warren. Look, we live in an NBA of positionless basketball. You can get Zaire Smith, Devin Booker, Josh Jackson on the court at the same time, good passer in Deandre Ayton. That's a good lineup.
There you go. All right, he's going to number 16. Let's go to number 17. Aaron Holiday to the Bucks. I like this, Harris.
What do the Bucks need? Scoring from the guard position. What does Aaron Holiday bring you? Scoring from the guard position.
There you go.
There are very few guards throughout the rest of the draft that can score like Aaron Holiday can. Boy, do the Bucks need points. They just need people to score, and Aaron Holiday will do that for them. Cut the crap, take the shooter.
Okay, there he goes at number 17. At number 18, you got the San Antonio Spurs going with Akabo.
I will die on this hill. There is a French point guard, and the Spurs can take him. Of course they're going to. Tony Parker is on his way out. I think that their current point guard in Murray, he's a more defensive 2-guard than he is a playmaking 1. Kobo, in terms of his, his court vision and his points per game, they've gone up every single year. He's a very mature player. His jump shot has improved. He is a Popovich player through and through. He's a good NBA defender as well.
Okay, so he's off the board at number 18. Going to the Spurs at 19. You've got Troy Brown going to the Hawks.
Yes, and I actually had Troy Brown going higher in my last mock draft. I think he's going to fall just because the more and more I look at him, the more and more I realize that there isn't really one distinctive skill he brings to the table that is really just, oh my God, Troy Brown. But I think what he does bring to the Hawks is a very safe, reliable 3-and-D player with good offensive upside. And I think if you're the Hawks, that's what you need. You don't need these crazy upside guys. You need safe picks who you know are going to actually succeed in the NBA. Troy Brown's going to be a good NBA consistent player.
All right, he's gone at number 19. Into number 20. We have Gina Musa going to the T-Wolves.
Oh, I love Gina Musa. Gina Musa is a really fun player because at number 6 is my number 6 small forward, my number 19 player overall. My player comp for him is Rodney Hood. Good Rodney Hood, by the way. Like Utah Jazz Rodney Hood. 16 points per game, Rodney Hood. But look, the T-Wolves, they need scoring and length off the bench. Gina Musa is going to bring that.
Gina Musa. Great pronunciation. I suck at life. Forgive me, folks.
I typed down Jean like Jean, but, what are you going to do?
Tomatoes are being thrown in my face. At 21, we got the Jazz. Kevin Huerter from Maryland. Now, the Lakers promised him reportedly a selection at 25. Apparently, he's not getting there.
He ain't going to make it to the Lakers at 25. That's not going to happen. Now, I think a lot of people look at Kevin Huerter and mistake him with Dante DiVincenzo because they do a lot of very similar things, and they are both white shooting guards. But Kevin Huerter is everything Dante DiVincenzo, but better. I like Kevin Huerter more. I think he's a better overall shooter. I think he's more consistent. And I'm not worried about that hand injury either. If you're Quinn Snyder and you see a shooter on the board like Kevin Huerter, who is very, very similar to someone like a Joe Ingles, you take him. Surround Donovan Mitchell with as many shooters as you possibly can. Kevin Huerter's that guy.
He is off the board going at number 21. At number 22, we have Chandler Hutchinson.
This has been a promise, and I'm going to stick with the promise from the Chicago Bulls because he's going to be on the board. He's a great fit for their team. He's long, he's athletic, and he can shoot the ball. He's kind of like the bizarro Zach LaVine. He does everything well that Zach LaVine doesn't. And I think that Chandler Hutchinson, as he evolves as a player, he's kind of on the older side. He's 22 years old going into the draft. He's a good, experienced college player. I'm not saying he's Kyle Kuzma, but we could see him end up being this year's Kyle Kuzma in terms of a great, experienced college player who can score the ball.
Okay, there you go. At number 22, checking in at number 23. Who do you got here, Harris, with the Pacers?
Keita Bates-Diop, or as I like to call him, the poor man's Draymond Green. And I emphasize poor because he can guard all 5 positions. It's unreal. The dude can defend centers. And sure, those are college centers. I'm not saying he's going to be able to defend Joel Embiid, but he can defend small ball centers. And I think that's going to bring a lot of versatility to this Pacers lineup. They need guys off the bench who can do a lot of different things. They need versatile playmakers. And I think maybe Keita Bates-Diop, that 19.8 points per game is a little deceiving. I don't think he's that good of a scorer, but I think overall his game is perfectly fit to what the Pacers want to do.
All right, let's take a look at number 24, the Blazers here, going with Kiri Thomas.
I think that Kiri Thomas gives them the option to trade either Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum and not be in a lot of trouble. I think Kiri Thomas is probably a little bit better without the ball in his hands as the primary ball handler, so maybe this is more of a you can now trade CJ McCollum type of pick, but they need someone who can play defense off the bench at the guard position because Damian Lillard surely doesn't play defense. Kiri Thomas is going to give that to you.
All right, so they're there at number 24. Let's take a look at 25. The Lakers. They're going with Dante DiVincenzo.
People keep telling me he's going higher. I don't see it. I think 25 is the perfect spot for Dante DiVincenzo. Because, look, to be totally honest, he's not consistent. He was wildly inconsistent last year. He had a great championship game. But outside of that, what do they call him, the LeBron of Delaware or whatever it is, I like Dante DiVincenzo. I think he's a good player. He's going to be a good shooter in the NBA. He perfectly lines up to what the Lakers want/need out of a college player at 25. DiVincenzo's the guy.
All right, let's take a look at 26 here. The 76ers get Jacob Evans.
Oh, look, I gave them one wing, and now I'm giving them a second wing. Another
so nice.
I know, right? Another 3-and-D guy for the 76ers. I have them taking Evans, very similar player to a Jay Crowder or even a Robert Covington. Good defender, good three-point shooter, gives you some length and versatility on the wing, exactly what the 76ers need. Evans will be, I don't think he'll start for the Sixers at any time soon, but they definitely need him in a playoff series.
At number 27, one of the bigger mysteries of the draft, the Boston Celtics. What are they doing here, Harris?
They need someone who can score off the bench, especially at the guard spot. They don't need more wings. People keep mocking them more wings. They can't play all these guys. Okogie should be able to give them some nice kind of temperate scoring next to Marcus Smart when they bring him back. And it also, I brought this up with a couple different teams, really does push forward the option of them being able to trade Terry Rozier.
All right, so at 27, the Celtics are there. At number 28, the Warriors are here, and they are getting Melvin Frazier.
This is probably a way too boring of a pick for the Golden State Warriors, but I think after everything we saw out of their team last year, maybe a boring pick is best. They need a wing. They need someone who can come off the bench and actually defend someone at the 2 or the 3. They have so many centers on this roster that they just don't need. Melvin Frazier will give them a nice, consistent piece to spell Andre Iguodala, to spell Kevin Durant, give them three-point shooting, and give them some defense. He's also maybe the greatest basketball player in the history of the University of Tulane. So that's not something they're going to ignore.
All right, at number 29, you've got the Nets selecting Mo Wagner. There he is on the board.
They keep saying they want a stretch 4, so I gave him a stretch 4. I gave him Mo Wagner, who, in terms of his overall NBA career, he's not Kelly Olynyk. I think he's better than Kelly Olynyk. I think Channing Frye is a better overall expectation for Mo Wagner. Good defender down low. Never going to be able to do anything outside of, just kind of your expectations of him. But good shooter, has a nice jumper around the elbow, can hit some threes as well. I think he's a better rebounder at the NBA level than he is at college. He'll be a good player for the Nets next to Jared Allen.
And with that, at number 30, you've got the Atlanta Hawks getting a Fernie Simons.
I lied.
He's off the board.
I said that the Hawks didn't need to take high upside crazy people and just needed to take safe picks. Well, I gave them Anthony Simons, who might be the wildest high upside guy in this draft. I mean, he could be out of the NBA in a couple years, or he can end up being a multi-time All-Star by year 3. We really have no idea because we just haven't seen him play in 2 years because he didn't go to college after the whole Louisville scandal. So I have him going to the Hawks, gives them a nice 2-guard. Maybe they trade Kent Bazemore in his stupid contract.
So there you go, Harris's final mock draft. Let's take a look at the full-on list here. Ayton, Doncic, Jaren Jackson, Marvin Bagley, Mo Bamba. There's Trae Young, Michael Porter Jr., Mikal Bridges, Wendell Carter, and Miles Bridges, followed by Collin Sexton, Gilgeous-Alexander, Robert Williams, Kevin Knox, and Lonnie Walker. Zaire Smith, there's Holiday, Okobo, you have Troy Brown, and Musa as well at 20. Then you have Kevin Huerter, Hutchinson, Bates Diop, Kyrie Thomas, Dante DiVincenzo, Evans, Okogie, Melvin Frazier, Mo Wagner, and Fernie Simons.
And people are still going to yell at me in the comments. Just saying.
Of course, because they love to.
Absolutely.